When working on Excel spreadsheets, I often use cell coloring to distinguish one cell from another. In this case, in front of you right here, you can see that I have a list of tasks. Of course, there would be an actual description, but right now it's just an example. So you have task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, and all the way down here. So in this example, the colors are being used as follows. Green means it's completed, yellow means it's in progress, and red means it's not even been started yet. So what if I wanted to know how many tasks I've completed so far? Well, I could just visually count them. But another way I could do this is just use Excel's built-in filter by color functionality. In my experience, most people aren't aware this exists, and it's really useful. So if you just right-click on any cell that has the color and go down to Filter, you can filter by the selected cell's color. And that will show you exactly all the cells with that color. And more useful is at the bottom, you see it says 13 of 22 records are green. In my case, I know that means they're completed. It's pretty useful. You can have access to the same feature without right-clicking. So for example, if I have the full list of tasks visible again, I can select the column, and up top here I can click Filter. Then the little arrow comes up, right? I can click that little arrow, and instead of filtering by the text values down here, I can just say Filter by color, and I see the 3 colors that are being used. So for example, I'll filter by in progress. There you go. 6 of 22 records found. Now this works, but there's better ways of designing this. Let me show you. So let's go back a little bit here. I'll turn off the filter and we're back to this list. Now my first concern here is that I have to actually filter to see the totals. What if I want the totals to always be visible? Well, the problem is this. There are formulas in Excel that let you count the number of cells based on the contents and things like that, but you can't count them based on their color without going into macros. And macros are not always the easiest to play around with, so if we can keep things simple, then we might as well. So here's where I would start. I would create a copy of the sheet, so I'd right-click it down here. It says Move or Copy. I'm actually going to check where it says Create a Copy, and I'm going to click OK. Now we have a second sheet. We're going to call it Tasks 2.0. Okay? So how do we design this? Well, the first thing I would do is I would separate the status from the task name. So I would create another column called Status. Let's make it bold to keep things consistent. And I would then define what the 3 choices are in terms of the text description of what these colors mean. Since I'm only going to be defining 3 statuses, what I'm going to do is first define the list of valid choices. So I'm going to select all the cells that are here in this range. And then I'm going to, in the Data tab in the ribbon, I'm going to go to the Data Tools section and click Data Validation. And here, in the Settings section, instead of any value, I'm going to change it to List. And here I'm going to put the 3 options that I described earlier. So, as I mentioned, I'll write Not Started, In Progress, Completed. And then I'll click OK. Okay, so if we go back here, anytime you select a cell, you'll notice that, hey, there's a little drop-down thing, and oh, look at that, it gives you the 3 options. Okay, that's good. It's the first step. So, green coincides with what? Completed, right? Let me expand this a little bit. Okay, and yellow coincides with what? In progress. That's great, but what about the color? Should the color still be here? No, I would move it here, personally. Now, to do that, we're going to be making use of conditional formatting. Now, conditional formatting is available in the Home tab. Just simply click Home, go to Styles, and you'll see conditional formatting. This is different because what's happening right now is these values are actually just selected manually. There's no conditional formatting. There's no intelligence here. It's really just a human that said this color should be here. So for conditional formatting, let's select all the cells in the range again. And then in the Home tab in the ribbon, go to Conditional Formatting in the Styles section. Click that, and then we're going to go to New Rule. We're going to say only cells that contain the cell value is equal to not started. So when it's not started, what should it be? Well, we saw it earlier. The fill should be red. And let's think ahead here. You can see at the bottom that the black on red is not that great visually. So we're going to go back into Format here. And we're going to improve it by simply making the font color white. So here where it says Automatic, I'm going to select white. And I'm going to click OK. There, that looks a little better. So now I'm going to click OK, and that's our first rule. You don't see it right now, but if we go back to conditional formatting, leaving the range selected, and then we go to Manage Rules, you'll notice that our first rule is here. Now let's create another rule. So format only cells that contain, again, its cell value is equal to in progress format. We're going to fill it. Fill is going to be yellow. I'm going to click OK. Cool. And then I'm going to just duplicate this rule. And I'm going to edit this copy. And again, cell value equal to in progress. Instead of this, I'm going to say it's equal to completed. The format, I'm going to go in here, change the color to green. I'm going to click OK. And just for the sake of optimization, I'm going to say yes to stop if true. Because of course, if one of these colors is valid, then the others are not. So why continue processing? Just end the logic, right? I'm going to click apply. I'm going to click OK. There you go. You can see that completed already took effect. In progress took effect. And if we go ahead and we just continue to plug in the proper values here, not started, then you'll notice it just automatically knows what to do. This is great. Now, like I said, the benefit of this is that you can actually, I'm not going to do them all at this point, but just to show you the benefit of this is that you can count this programmatically. So one thing I'll do before I do that is I'm going to clear the formatting here. I'm going to use in the Home tab, in the Editing section, I'm going to use the Clear tool, and I'm going to clear formats. Because we don't need this anymore, right? I mean, I lost the ones here, but it's okay just for the sake of this demonstration, right? So let's see if we can count with formulas how many of these colors are being used. Now, I wouldn't want to put the formulas here, right? Because if I ever filter this, the formulas might be hidden. So another better place of doing this would be to create a new tab. And we're going to call it something like Overview or Dashboard or something, but I'll just do Overview for now. So let's write our values here. Not started, in progress, oops, let me make sure it's capitalized, and completed. So how many do we have? And then I could even put total, right? So the total is just going to be a sum. It's going to be C2 to C4. That's simple enough. Now, how do we get this? Well, here's how you get it. Equals count if, and then you need to select the range. So the range in our case, we can actually just click through and go to task 2.0 and actually drag like this. And personally, I really like putting absolute values because there's no misinterpretation there. It's like literally this range. We know right now this is exactly what we want. And then for the next argument, when we press comma here, it asks for criteria. Well, in this case, it's real simple. Let me go back to overview here. And notice that when I did that, it put overview, but that's unnecessary because that's the current page where we are. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Instead, I'm going to refer to $C2. Oops, nope, B2. Yeah, that makes more sense. And then I'm going to close this. What does this mean? Well, it means that within the range that we selected on the other page, if it finds the value not started, it should count it. That's the condition, right? We're saying the value you should be looking for is literally what's to the left of you here in B2. As you can see, it came up with 3. And if I go to my tasks 2.0 sheet, you'll notice that there are in fact 3 not started, so it is counting properly. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for the other 2. Now, we could type it from scratch, but there's no need. That's because we can just drag down, and this works only because I did not put an absolute reference on the 2, right? Because this formula should stay exactly the same, except for that 2. Because as the row changes, as we drag down here, we want the 2 to become a 3, which it did. If I had put an absolute reference in this cell, and by absolute reference I mean a $, it would have locked this, and the 2 would have stayed. This formula would not have worked. So here it says we have a total of 9. There's 4 completeds. There's 2 in progress. If we go to tasks 2.0, you see there are 4 completed. So there are 2 in progress. And so there you go. If you have any other questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help.